Hi makers, welcome back to my channel. It's Sierra with Sierra's Crafty Creations, and in today's tutorial we're going to be crocheting this cute little cropped shrug. The materials that you're going to need to create this shrug is a size 4 worsted weight yarn. Today I'm going to be using Premier yarns. You can use any size 4 worsted weight and any fiber content that you want. As long as it's a size 4, you should be good to go. And I will pop in a chart here so that you can see how many yards you'll need for each size. You're also going to need a 5mm crochet hook. The letter is H. This is one of my handmade crochet hooks by my friend Becky over at Clay and Fiber Co. I will link her shop down below if you're interested in getting your own handmade crochet hooks. You'll also need 2 stitch markers. These are my really fun Friends themed stitch markers that I got from Taylor over at Taylor Lynn Crochet. And I will link her shop down below too if you want to check out some of her other fun stitch markers that she has, but you'll need 2 of them for this project. You also need a pair of scissors, you'll need a measuring tape, and you'll need a yarn needle to weave in your ends at the end of your project. So now that we have all of our materials, let's go ahead and get started on our tutorial. Let's grab our yarn and our hook and go ahead and get started. So to create this, we are actually creating the length of our shrug first, and each row is going to create the width. And we're going to leave a hole in the middle for our neck opening, and then after we finish the shrug we are going to do the turtleneck option at the last step. So let's go ahead and get started. On our first row we are going to create a slip knot, insert your hook into the loop, and we are going to chain. For each size, the chain is different because we're creating the length, and I'll go ahead and insert a chart here to show you how many you should chain for the size that you're making. Today, I'm just making a very small sample size just to show you the stitches and the way of the pattern. So I'm just going to be chaining a very small amount, but I will go ahead and insert that chart now so you can see how many you should be chaining for the size that you're making today. Once you reach the number of chains for your size that you're making, we're going to go ahead and continue with our first row. And this is going to be for all sizes. We are going to single crochet in the first 12 stitches. So we're going to place a single crochet. This is the very first chain from our hook. So in the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert into that chain, grab our yarn, pull through the chain. You'll now have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both of those loops, and that's a single crochet. And we're going to create 12 of those. Again, this is for all sizes. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops, single crochet, and create 12 of those. And once you have your 12 single crochets, then we're going to place a half double crochet in the next stitch. And to create a half double crochet, you're going to yarn over your hook, insert into the chain, grab your yarn, pull through the chain, and that'll leave you with 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through all 3, and that is a half double crochet. And you're going to keep placing a half double crochet in each chain across. And each size, this half double crochet count will be different. So I'm going to place a chart here so that you can see how many half double crochets you should have for your size. Once you have the half double crochet count for your size, you should have 12 remaining chains left. And we're going to place a single crochet in each of those chains. And this again is for all sizes. So we're going to start and end with 12 single crochets. So once you reach that half double crochet count for your size and you have your 12 chains left, we're going to go back to single crochet. And again, a single crochet is inserting your hook into the chain, grabbing yarn, pulling through, having 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both. So go ahead and place a single crochet in those 12 remaining chains. Now we have our first row complete. So we started with the 12 single crochets. We have our half double crochets in the middle, and we ended with 12 single crochets. So this is going to be how it's going to go for the rest of our rows. These 12 at the beginning and 12 at the end are going to be your cuffs of your sweater. Again, I'm making a very teeny tiny sample size, so yours will be much, much longer. This is just to show you on camera. So this is your start of one sleeve, and this is the start of your other sleeve. So we're making the sleeves on this side because essentially all this cropped cardigan is sleeves, right? And they meet in the middle, and you have this really fun turtleneck. So that is why we do single crochets here, half double crochets in the middle, and then single crochets at the end. So I just wanted to give you a little insight into the construction of this. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to row 2. And for these, you're going to need to grab those stitch markers because we're going to need them. To start row 2, we are going to chain 1, and to chain, you're going to grab your yarn on your hook, pull it through the loop on your hook, and that is chain 1. We're going to turn our work because we're working in rows, so you'll be turning at the end of each row. And then we are going to single crochet in the very first stitch. So this is the first stitch of the row here. So we're going to go through both the loops. We're going to grab our yarn, pull up, yarn will pull through both loops in the very first stitch. And over the next 11 single crochet stitches, we're going to be single crocheting in the back loop only. So a stitch is made up of a front loop and a back loop. This is our front loop here, and this is our back loop. So you're going to want to insert your hook in just the back loop only. Grab your yarn, pull it through that back loop. Yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook to create your single crochet. And you're going to do that 11 times, and that's for all sizes. So insert through the back loop only, create your single crochet. All right, and once you reach your last one, you're going to finish the stitch, and this is where you're going to want to grab one of your stitch markers, and you're going to place it in that stitch. And this is just going to be to help you keep track of where your single crochet stitches are compared to your half double crochets, because sometimes they can get a little tricky to tell apart. So you'll put your stitch marker in that very last single crochet one. And now we're going to be on to our half double crochet section. In this row, we're going to be doing a half double crochet in the third loop. So I showed you before how there's a front loop and a back loop. Well, with our half double crochets, there's also a third loop, which can be found here. This is also called the camel stitch if you're more familiar with that terminology, but there is a ridge here in the back of your stitch that you're going to insert your hook in, grab your yarn, and pull up, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And that is going to create a ridge here in the front. So again, we're going to be doing half double crochet in the third loop, which is here in the back. So we have our front and back stitch here at the top, but our third loop is going to be in the back, and there's that horizontal ridge here. So you're going to insert your hook through that ridge and create your half double crochet as normal. So you're going to do that all the way across. And again, I will put the chart up to tell you how many half double crochets in the back loop, how many of these stitches that you should have for your size. And keep in mind, this chart number is these numbers are going to stay the same throughout the pattern. And once you're done with your half double crochet in the third loop section, you can flip it over to see the ridge that I'm talking about here. This is going to be the front of your work where you see this really pretty ridge, and this is the back of your work. So once you reach that stitch point, we should have those 12 single crochets left at the end. And just like we did at the beginning, we're going to single crochet in the back loop only. And so here's my first single crochet. I'm going to find my back loop, create my single crochet, and then I'm going to pause and grab my other stitch marker. And this is where I'm going to place this stitch marker. and then I'm going to continue placing a single crochet in the back loop all the way down, and then I'm going to put a normal single crochet in the very last stitch. So go in the back loop, single crochet over the next 11 stitches. So you'll have 11 single crochets in the back loop, and then you will finish your 12th single crochet as normal. All right, and we are on our last stitch here, so we're going to insert through normally, so we're going through both loops to finish our row. And then we have our 2 stitch markers, and again, these just indicate when you're going to be switching over to your half double crochets. That way you don't have to keep count every single time. It's just a reminder to let you know you're going from single crochet to half double crochet. So let's go ahead and move on to row 3. To start row 3, we are going to grab our yarn, pull through the loop on our hook for a chain 1, turn our work, we're going to single crochet in the very first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in the back loop only all the way until our stitch marker, or for the next 11 stitches. Once you reach your stitch marker, you know that is your last stitch. You're going to take your stitch marker out, create your last single crochet in the back loop, and then you're going to put your stitch marker back into that stitch. And now we know that it's time for our half double crochet section. And in this time, now that we're at the front of our work, when we know that because we can see our ridge here, we are just going to place a half double crochet as normal in every stitch across. And again, that stitch count from the chart that I showed previously, that is going to be the stitch count that you're going to have for every single row for this section. So keep that in mind. You can write it down, screenshot it. If you want the written pattern to follow along, you can grab the written pattern in my Etsy shop or on my blog. Both of them will be linked down below if you would like to follow along with the written pattern as well. All right, and once you reach your other stitch marker, that's how we know it's time to do our single crochets. So again, we're going to remove our stitch marker. We're going to do a single crochet in the back loop only. So grab the back loop, create a single crochet, and then replace your stitch marker back in that stitch. And then do single crochet in the back loop only until the very last stitch, and then you'll place a single crochet as normal in the very last stitch of the row. All right, and here's our last stitch. We're going to create a single crochet as normal to end our row. And now you can start seeing the cuffs, the ridges and the ribbing on your cuff forming on both sides. All right, let's go ahead and move on to row 4. So for row 4 and the rows throughout, we're going to be repeating the last 2 rows that we did. So row 2 and 3, we're just going to keep repeating those until we get the width that we need for our size. But I will we'll go over those again. So we're going to do row 4 and 5 on camera, and then I will meet you back here for row 13. So for row 4, it's a repeat of row 2, which is chain 1, turn your work, single crochet in the very first stitch, and then single crochet in the back loop only until you reach your stitch marker or for the next 11 stitches. Once you reach your stitch marker, go ahead and take it out, place a single crochet in the back loop only in that stitch, and then replace your stitch marker for this row. So put it back in that stitch. And now we are on to our half double crochet section. And again, this is a repeat of row 2. So in row 2, we did the half double crochets in the 3rd loop. So this back ridge here. So you're going to yarn over, find your back ridge, and then complete your half double crochet as normal. And you're going to do that for each half double crochet stitch across, placing a half double crochet in the 3rd loop. And once you reach your stitch marker on the other end, we're going to go ahead and remove that. Now we're going to be doing our single crochets, doing a single crochet in the back loop only, and then replace your stitch marker. And then single crochet in the back loop only for the next 11 stitches until you get to the very last, and then placing your single crochet as normal in the very last stitch like we've been doing for the previous rows. All right, we're on our last stitch. Create a single crochet as normal, and that is our row 4. And again, this is going to be our back side of our work. To go to row 5, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and this is going to be a repeat of row 3, and this is the front of our work where our beautiful ridges are. So for row 5, repeat of row 3, we're going to start out as normal, so single crochet in that very first stitch, single crochet as normal, then single crochet in the back loop only over the next 11 stitches or until you reach that stitch marker. Once you reach your stitch marker, go ahead and take it out, and we are going to do our last single crochet in the back loop and then re-add our stitch marker. Now we're at our half double crochet section, and this is a repeat of row 3, so we're going to place a half double crochet as normal in every stitch across for this section. Once we reach our other stitch marker, we're going to go ahead and take it out, and we are moving on to the single crochet portion of this row. So single crochet in the back loop, replace your stitch marker, and single crochet in each loop, in the back loop of each stitch across until your very last stitch, where you'll place a regular single crochet. All right, hopefully you guys got the hang of those 2 rows, and you'll keep repeating those rows until we reach row 13 if you're doing the small / medium, row 15 if you're doing the large extra large, row 17 if you're doing the 2x 3x, and row 21 if you're doing the 4x 5x size. So depending on your size, I will meet you back for that row. This is the row where we're going to create the hole for the neck opening, so keep repeating those last 2 rows until you reach your neck hole opening row. All right, now we're going to be doing the row for the neck opening. So this is going to be the same starting and ending as normal. We're just going to do something a little different in our half double crochet row. So let's go ahead and do our chain 1 to start our row, turn our work, and as normal, single crochet in the very first stitch and single crochet in back loop only until you reach your stitch marker. Remove your stitch marker and place your last single crochet in the back loop. Reattach your stitch marker, and now we're going to do our half double crochet section. We're going to be working in the half double crochet in the 3rd loop, so this back ridge back here. And I will pop up a graph again for you guys for the sizing, because the stitch count is going to be different for each size. But you're going to half double crochet in the 3rd loop, this back ridge, for your stitch count. I'll throw that chart up now. So this is what you're going to, how many stitches you are going to place before we create our opening. All right, and once you've reached that stitch count, we are going to chain. So for the small medium size, we're going to chain 20. So again, chain yarn over your hook, pull through the loop on your hook. That's 1 chain, 2 chains. So you're going to chain a total of 20. Medium and large sizes, you're going to chain a total of 30. 2x, 3x, you're going to do 36. And 4x, 5x, you're going to chain 40. So chain that amount for the size that you're making. And once you have chained the appropriate amount for your size, we are going to then skip that same number. So if you chain 20, you're skipping 20. So this is the next stitch. So we're going to skip, that's our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and you're going to count the same number that you chained. Again, so if you chain 20, you're going to skip 20 stitches. And then once you do that, double crochet in the 3rd loop of the next stitch. And this is what it will look like, obviously on a much bigger scale for you guys. So this is how many I chained, and I skipped the same amount of stitches, and that's going to create the neck opening for our cropped sweater. Keep placing a half double crochet in the third loop for your remaining stitches in your half double crochet section. Once you reach your stitch marker, you're going to take your stitch marker out, and we're going to end our row as normal. So single crochet in the back loop of the first stitch, replace our stitch marker, and single crochet in the back loop only until the very last stitch, and then place a regular single crochet in that very last stitch. All right, to start our next row, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and as normal, starting as normal, single crochet in the very first stitch, single crochet in the back loop only until you reach your stitch marker. All right, once you do your last single crochet and replace your stitch marker, we're moving on to the half double crochet section, and it's going to be a little different because we now have this space and this chain. So to do that, we're going to place half double crochets in the normal space in each stitch across until we get to our chain that we made in the last row. All right, and once we get to our chain, we are going to place a half double crochet in each chain across. So we want to work directly into the chain. So here's our first chain. We're going to insert our hook into that very first chain there, grab our yarn and place the half double crochet as normal, go into the next chain, and keep doing that for each of your chains across. So if you have 20 chains, you should have 20 half double crochets. Right, and this is once you get to your last chain, make sure that you're putting a half double crochet in that last chain there, and you can always recount to make sure that you have a half double crochet in each chain. And then we're going to finish doing a half double crochet as normal in the remaining half double crochet stitches. And once you reach your stitch marker, we are now moving on to our single crochet part. I'm sure you got it down by now, so you have your single crochet in the back loop only until the end, being sure to replace your stitch marker for the next row, and then placing a regular single crochet in that very last stitch. And this is what it will be looking like for you guys, again on a much bigger scale. So your cuffs are starting to come along great on each side, and now we have our neck hole opening right here. And now that we have those filled, everything else is going to be those repeats, those same repeats of rows 2 and 3 until the end. And I will go ahead and put a graph up here again for you to give you a refresher and to let you know for what size that you're making, how many rows you should have in total. But they're just going to be the repeats of what we've done. So the next one would be to chain 1, turn your work, and again, this is the back of our work since we don't have any ridges here. So we know when we're on the back of our work, we are doing our single crochet in the back loop until our stitch marker, and then we're doing half double crochet in the third loop with the back ridge across until your next stitch marker, and then your single crochets in the back loop, and then a single crochet in the very last stitch. And then for the next row, you're doing your cuffs as normal, single crochet, and then you're going to do a half double crochet as normal across, and then single crochet ending. We will meet back and we're going to do our turtleneck section once you are finished with your rows. And once you finish with your rows for the body of the sweater, you can cut your yarn, act like you're chaining 1, and pull it all the way through just to tie it a knot and secure it. And you can remove those stitch markers, and let's go ahead and move on to the neck opening. So this is where we're going to create our little turtleneck. We're going to need to attach our yarn to our neck hole opening, and I like to do that by creating a slip knot. And then you can go into any part. I just try to go off into the side here into this little corner, if you will. I mean, it's a circle, so I know there's no corners, but you're going to take your slip knot, put it onto your hook, and then pull it through the stitch that you want to attach it to. Grab your working yarn and pull it through like a chain one. And now our yarn is attached. And what we're going to do is create a single crochet around. And you just want to do this as evenly as possible, because in some places like here, this isn't a normal stitch. But this place where I attached, I'm going to want to go back in, insert my hook, grab my yarn, and create a single crochet right here to start. Move this tail out of the way. And now I'm going along here, and this is a half double crochet that we worked, and I'm just going to go in through the half double crochet, like right through the stitch, and I'm going to create a single crochet there. And I'm rotating as I go, and here looks like a spot that I can put a stitch in here, so I'm going to place it there. Now we're on the underside of our chain, and this is a little easier to find where your stitches go. So there's an opening there, there's an opening in the next part of the chain, so you're going to want to place a single crochet pretty much in every underside of the chain. This one's a little easier to find because it's pretty much a stitch, so we know it's a little easier to know where to place them. But you just want to space them out as evenly as you can. And now we're coming back around to the curve where there's not actual stitches. So I'm going to place one there, one here, and then now I've rotated and I'm coming down here, and these are actual tops of stitches, so that makes it easy. And I know I can place a single crochet at the top of each of these stitches. And now I've come full circle. This is the very first single crochet that I've made, and I'm going to want to go through the top of that stitch. I'm going to grab my yarn, pull it through, and then pull it through this loop too. That's called a slip stitch, to connect it. So now I've worked a single crochet all the way around here. Let me get these tails out of our way here. So that's the idea, to single crochet all the way around our neck hole opening to create a good base for us to start our collar, which is going to be a turtleneck. And for each size, the suggested stitch count that you'll have here for your neck opening will be 40 for the small medium, 61 for the large extra large, 73 for the 2x 3x size, and 82 stitches for the 4x 5x size. So that's how many single crochets you should have for your neck opening. Now we're going to get started with row 1 of our collar. So we're going to be creating a chain, working down that chain down to our base. So to do that, we're going to chain 20 for the small size, 24 for the medium, for the large size, 26 for the 2x size, and 28 for the 3x size. So you chain how many you need for your size that you're making. And once you reach that chain count, we're going to place a double crochet. We're going to place a double crochet in the third chain from our hook. So here's our first chain, second, and third. So this is the one that we're going to work into. So you're going to yarn over your hook, insert into that third chain, grab your yarn, pull through the chain, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, and then yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. And then we're going to create a double crochet in each chain down. We're going to be working down towards our neck opening. So in the very next stitch here, the next chain, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our double crochet. You're going to do that for each chain. And once you get down to your base, I just want to make sure that you see that last chain. It's a good thing to count your stitches to make sure you have them all. And then now we just have this little thing hanging off in space, right? So we need to attach it to that single crochet base that we created around our neck opening. And this is the stitch that we started with here. So this is where we started. So we're gonna count 1, 2. Those are 2 single crochets right next to where we started. And then we're gonna go into that third one, insert our hook into that single crochet around the base of our neck opening. We're gonna create a slip stitch. So you're gonna grab your yarn, pull through that stitch, and then pull through the loop on your hook. And that is going to attach this at the base here. And then we're going to slip stitch into this stitch. So the stitch right next to where we just slip stitch, you're going to create another one. And then again in the next stitch up. So you'll have 2 slip stitches after that. And then we're going to turn our work here. So we're going to be working on this. So this is we're going to be working on these stitches here. So to do that, we're going to do a double crochet in the back loop only. So just like we did in the body of the sweater, there's the front loop and then the back loop. You're going to be working back loop only, creating a double crochet in the back loops. And you're going to do this for every stitch across. And then when you get to your very last stitch, we're going to do a double crochet through both loops, so a normal double crochet to end. And that is our second row. So as you can see here, let me pull my hook out for a second. This is the body of our sweater. This is our neck hole opening. And then we're working our turtleneck. And we're going to create a ribbed turtleneck. And to do that, we're working on this flap here. So when our next row is our third row, and we're going to be coming back down to the base again. So it's a little bit different to do that around. So I wanted to be sure you understood how this is all working out here. So to start row 3, we are going to chain 2, turn this little work here, and then we are going to double crochet in the very first stitch here. So place a double crochet in the very first stitch, and then double crochet in the back loop only until we get to the base. And just want to point out, this is our very last stitch here. Sometimes it can be hard to see. So counting your stitches is always a good idea to make sure that you're not forgetting that last stitch. And then again, this is the stitch that right, so we're going to count 3 stitches on our base here. So this is our base. So this is where we're attached here. You can spread it out just so you can see it easier. So single crochet, we're going to skip 3 of them. We'll skip 2 and then insert into the third. So 1, 2, and this is our third, so that's where we're going to insert our hook. Grab your yarn, create a slip stitch, and that attaches it back to the base. And then we're going to slip stitch over the next 2 single crochets on the base. So here's our first slip stitch and our second. And then we're going to turn / rotate here. So now that we're working along here, and you're not going to work into these slip stitches. Those are just creating the height for our stitch. This here is our very first stitch. So you're going to do a back loop double crochet. So double crochet in the back loop only until you get to your very last double crochet in the row, and you'll place a double crochet as normal in that stitch. So here's our last stitch. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch. So this here is our last one. Place a double crochet as normal. then chain 2, turn / rotate your work, and we'll keep going. So double crochet as normal in the first one, double crochet in the back loop all the way down to the base, and once you've reached the base, make sure you see where you had your last slip stitch, which is here. Count 2, skip those, insert into the third, create a slip stitch in the next 2, turn / rotate, and keep repeating. And you're going to do that all the way around until you are back here at the beginning of your first row. All right, and once you create your last slip stitch on your last row here, your first and last row should be lined up pretty good. And what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch these two together. So we're going to insert our hook through one side here, line it up with the first stitch on the other side, grab your yarn, pull through both sides, and then pull through the loop on your hook to create a slip stitch. And you're going to do that for each stitch, lining them up. So you're going to go through both, create a slip stitch, and keep doing that stitch for stitch, going through both sides all the way down until you get to the very last stitch, create your slip stitch. I like to create a chain 1, give myself a bit of a yarn tail, and then pull that through, knot to secure. And then your turtleneck is seamed together, and then you can fold it over. Again, my turtleneck is so tiny, so you can fold it in half like this. So this would be a good little sweater for like a Barbie. So you can fold it over like this, and now your turtleneck portion is done. So now we have one last step, and that's to seam up our arms, and then we will be done. All right, to assemble it, you're going to flip your sweater. So we're looking at the back side or the inside of it, so where there are no ridges, and you know where your turtleneck is not. So we're going to be this way, and we're going to grab our yarn, and for each size you're going to want to go up differently. This is where you're going to want to grab your measuring tape, and again I will put up a chart for you guys so you can easily see where you need to go for each size, but you want to measure according to this chart. And you also, it might be nice to grab your stitch markers so that you can mark where your measurement is. So you're going to fold your sweater, hot dog wise, I call it. So we're going to fold it like this, measure according to where the chart was, and then I like to place a stitch marker through both sides to keep it folded. And you place your stitch marker there, and that's when you know that's where you're going to stop. And you're going to do that for both sides. So you can grab your other stitch marker, measure the other end, folding hot dog wise, and secure it with your stitch marker. All right, once you have your stitch markers in place, that's when we know where we need to stop. And to seam up, we're going to be using slip stitches just like we did with the turtleneck. So we're going to need to attach our yarn. So create a slip knot, or however you like to attach yarn, whatever your favorite method is. And I like to start at the very end of our cuffs here. So I'm going to line up stitch for stitch. So this is the very first stitch through this side, and the very first stitch through this side. So I want to make sure that my hook is through both of them. I'm going to take my slip knot, go through both, pull it, and then I'm going to create like a chain 1 here, and that's going to attach my yarn and start it. And so now we're going to do a slip stitch through both sides to connect them. So we're going to go into the next stitch on this side, go through this next stitch on this side, line it up for the next stitch on the other side, grab your yarn, pull through both, and then pull through the loop on your hook to create a slip stitch. And you're going to do that stitch by stitch, lining them up, creating a slip stitch all the way across. And this is going to seam together our sleeves. And then you're going to go ahead and keep doing this until you reach your stitch marker. Once you reach your stitch marker, you can take that out and then leave a good bit of a long tail. Cut your yarn and then secure it. And then we are done seaming. So now our sleeve is seamed up, and we're going to go ahead and repeat the same thing over here. So we're going to attach our yarn and slip stitch up into our stitch marker. All right, friends, once you have both ends seamed up, you can grab your yarn needle, and any of these loose ends that we have here, we're just going to weave those in. So you're going to thread them through your yarn needle and just weave in those ends through your project to hide and secure them. What I like to do is go in a few different directions to hide them. So I'm going this way, I'm going to go up, I'm going to go over, and once I've gone a few different directions and they're hidden, you can cut them as close as you can, wiggle them in there, and they are secured. And you're going to want to do that for any and all loose ends. And once that is done, your little cropped sweater is finished. You can put that baby on and wear it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and if you want to see more crochet and knit tutorials, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next tutorial.